Have you ever felt like there's a vivid fire burning inside of you, yearning to break free and illuminate your life? That, my friend, is your vibrant life waiting to bloom. Welcome to the Vibrant Life Podcast. We are here to empower women just like you to liberate that vibrant life, to live authentically, and to harness the power within.
Our journey will take us through the enlightening realms of energy healing, goal setting, spiritual awakening, and so much more. We're stepping into the light of self-acceptance, of owning our power and potential.
If you have been yearning to dive headfirst into the world of entrepreneurship, or awaken your spirituality, or simply make peace with yourself, your search ends here at the Vibrant Life Podcast. As we embark on this enlightening journey together, we promise to hold your hand through every step of your journey to a more vibrant life.
Your adventure to true empowerment and authentic living begins here. Tap into the vibrant life you've always dreamed of. Subscribe now and join us at the Vibrant Life Podcast. Embrace your vibrant self. Until then, shine on.
Shine on.
Okay. Welcome back to the Vibrant Life Society podcast, the Vibrant Life. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back
to the Vibrant Life podcast. I am one of your hosts, Cassie.
I'm Audrey.
And oh my God, I cannot talk today.
We're so excited you're here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us.
We decided that the last few episodes we've kind of had outlined out on things we wanted to talk about. And today we decided we're going to riff.
We'll see.
We're just going to see what happens. We're going to throw it out there. So something I have kind of wanted to talk about since we started the podcast was law of attraction and manifesting.
Yeah.
So I think that's the direction we're going to head. What do you know about law of attraction, Cassie?
I know the energy you put out is what you get back in.
Yeah.
I know you have to identify what you want and claim it and put it out there.
Yeah.
And then raise your vibration to bring it in.
Heck yes. That's it.
I love when I get the answer right.
You did it. Yeah, that's exactly it. So I started learning about law of attraction in 2020. So law of attraction for me, it was getting rid of all the negative things in my life because I didn't want to bring in any more negative. So at that time, we were doing the pandemic. I had a job where I worked super long shifts. I wasn't with my family all the time. I was just stressed out. Life felt overwhelming and heavy and hard. I worked with 120 women. Sometimes you can find yourself be very gossipy, and I was very gossipy because I didn't know how to fit in, and that felt like a way to fit in.
Yeah.
Was to talk about other people, which that don't feel good. There's nothing about that feels good. And even like my conversations at home, like talking to my husband, oh, did you hear what happened to so-and-so? And things like that. So very gossipy, very stressed out, always feeling like life was super overwhelming, which we've talked about that's kind of the state that I was in.
Yeah.
So how do you get out of that? How do you get out of feeling like life is heavy, life is negative? How do you get away from having toxic traits like that, from wanting to talk badly about other people, or for like, what are other toxic traits that we might discuss?
You've got gossiping, you've got people that are railroading your boundaries or not having boundaries yourself. I feel like that is a toxic trait.
I definitely, I didn't know boundaries before that.
I didn't either. And I think we could talk about lack of self-worth.
Yes.
Because part of that bringing good things in is you have to know that you're worthy of it. You're allowed to have it, for lack of a better word. And yeah, I think that was a big one for me. I think we should also talk about letting go. Because as we talked about in the last episode, everything is a task for me. And so it's very hard for me to understand what people mean when they say, I just flow. I just go. You got to just let go. And I'm like, if I let go, I will literally fall apart as a human being. So finding that and working in that vibration for you and what that looks like and how it looks different for other people.
Yeah. So finding the toxic traits, how do you get rid of them? I mean, you have to get rid of them one by one. You have to just be aware, this is something that happens in my life. This is something that I do.
You have to name it to tame it.
You have to name it to tame it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So for me, identifying with these moon rituals. So the first one I ever did, I remember it was so funny because my in-laws were visiting and I knew I really wanted to do it. It was a full moon, so I was releasing things. I was releasing. And I wanted to turn this into something super special for me. So I waited until everyone fell asleep because I did not want anyone to know what I was doing. So I waited for everyone to fall asleep. I snuck downstairs like it was Christmas morning and I lit some candles. I played some high vibrational frequency music because that is something that can raise your vibration. And I just knew very little about things to do to raise your vibration, but I knew this was where I was going to start. So I just wrote down the things that I wanted to release. But at that time, I didn't know about the feelings of things. So I don't even remember what I wrote down. I just knew it was specific things I wanted to get rid of. But I wrote them down, and I don't think I was into burning yet, but I'm really into burning now.
I didn't even clarify. What does that mean?
I'm really into writing down what you're releasing and lighting that shit on fire. Like, go outside, light that sucker up, and then let it go back to the universe. They even have like flyaway paper that's specifically meant for that. I have some. I should probably get some more because I typically just burn like notebook paper.
Yeah.
Which can be kind of messy. We don't have a fire pit, so I kind of come up with some creative ideas on how to do that. But
don't start a forest fire.
Don't start a forest fire. Make sure the ground's nice and wet, depending on where you're at. I use mason jars a lot, but it doesn't work as well to like let it ignite because there's not enough oxygen in it. Anyways, too many details. So that was the first ritual I ever did to release things, and then I meditated, and I had the most amazing meditative experience. I chose one that was, what's it called when they talk to you?
Guided?
I did a guided meditation, and I don't know, it just took me to this new place that felt very calm and peaceful. And I was like, ooh, I think I need more of this. And so that was just the beginning of figuring out law of attraction. So I knew what I wanted to put into the world, and I knew in order to put these good things out into the world, so I would bring these good things back, was that I needed to create space. So we're all energy. Mm-hmm. We're literally this big 6 to 8 foot wide circle of light. And science has proven that we are all energy and that you can change things according to what your vibration is. And so the higher your vibration is, the better you feel. And I can tell you, in a low vibrational state, I was sick all the time. We had colds, we had strep throat, we had all sorts of weird headaches, and just all the time, constantly sick. And I worked in a job where I couldn't take time off without feeling really bad about it. Yeah. I was either leaving the hospital super short-staffed, or I had a sick kid at home and I couldn't stay with them because I'd already used all the sick time for other illnesses.
Yeah.
Which was a big deal. So that was another thing to consider, that I wanted to be more high vibrational.
So you're creating space.
I'm creating space.
So you're releasing to create that space.
Right. So how do you release things?
Yes.
In the moment, you acknowledge a thought, you acknowledge a habit, you acknowledge a pattern, you acknowledge a person. You just find that moment of, aha, I feel like this isn't in alignment with who I want to be. It doesn't have to be who you are now, because we are constantly changing minute to minute. You have to make decisions every single second of every day, which might be a little bit more obvious for some people, like if you have ADHD versus I don't think I think about all the decisions I'm making. I just kind of do it automatically. But you identify that one moment of, okay, that's something that needs to go. This is a habit that I need to drop. This is something that I need to let go of. So you can either let it go in that moment, or you can just acknowledge it and know moving forward you need to work on it. So what does working on it look like? When it comes up again, you're like, oh yeah, that, I'm going to let go of that. And giving yourself a lot of grace and space, because you can't unlearn all these things overnight.
I think you can be very intentional about what you're doing if you're calling something in. And I love that in today's world, we have all of these resources. So my kind of dipping my toes into this, it probably started with Jasmine. I bet Jasmine. And I was like, you are crazy, lady. Like, I'm trusting you with my child, but like, I love you.
Let's back
You're
up.
a little bit crazy.
Let's back up. Jasmine is our daycare provider.
Yes,
Or was our daycare provider. And she's a psychic medium. And so she's very connected to the other side.
And every day she would blow my mind with something. Like I'd drop her. She's like, you know what? Today I decided I'm a Christian witch. And I'm like, I don't know if those things go together, but okay. Like I was just like in this, I was like, okay. But she was interesting. And I would think about them later. And then the pandemic happened and, you know, I was a single mom, so I needed to find a way to freelance. So I was like freelancing and I was doing all this hustle. And I was like, there's got to be an easier way to do this. And I found a couple of people that were like, yeah, you just bring it in with ease and flow. And I was like, those sound like great words. What do those feel like?
What the hell does that mean?
What does that mean? Because as we talked about in the last episode, my brain's constantly going. It's so easy to fall into hustle, to just a state of hustle if you're constantly having to decide things. So, and that's, you know, I was trying to control everything and it still wasn't working because I was like, I've got to do all these things. I've got my structured routines. I've got all of this work I've got to do. I've got all these things I've got to learn. I'm trying to be the best mom I can be. I was just trying to do too much and none of it felt like it was really working. So I was like, okay, there's got to be something else. And so that's kind of when I started looking into meditations, more into self-care. I actually kind of really got into it once I saw my therapist actually recommended this practice called body talk. And it's all about the practitioners tapping in intuitively and pulling in the stuck emotions within your body and your energy. And she actually pulls them out.
Okay.
And that, I mean, I was like, ooh, okay, I don't know. And then it worked. I mean, I guess I had kind of dabbled in some of these releasing techniques. I wasn't doing it as a way of like manifesting. I don't think I really knew. I wouldn't have tied it to this in the end, but like, you know, during my divorce and trying to forgive and things like this, I had gone out and I had screamed at the sky and I had burned the letters and all the things. So I was doing some of that without attaching, I think, the words that we're using today.
Yeah.
But then going into body talk. And so it really started out as kind of a self-care thing for me. And then as I got more into it, it was like, oh, I'm powerful. That's some cool shit.
Yeah, it is. It's magical.
Yes. And and for me, growing up I mean, we've talked about this. We both grew up in a Christian background, but like, I feel like so much of my resistance was born out of the fear of like, I'm not allowed to do that because that's weird and different and it's not like God-centered. And then I was watching this documentary with my daughter. She wants to be a zoo vet when she grows up. So we watch animal documentaries all the time. And I was watching this one and it was about monarch butterfly migrations. And this shit blew my mind.
It's so cool.
So if you don't know, monarch butterflies, it takes them 3 generations to get up to Canada. And then there's a super generation that flies back down to Mexico where they winter. So the last butterfly that this butterfly was related to was their great grandparent. And then somehow they know to get back to the exact same tree. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so this God that I believe in, if he put that much thought and that much power into a butterfly by tapping into the energies of the world and the tides of the moon and all of this, like, why wouldn't he put that much creation into me? Why wouldn't he put or she or whatever your creator is? Yes. Why wouldn't I have that power just exponentially?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I wrap my head around letting myself explore this and experience this and stop playing small.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
That is a really big unlearning when you have learned something so strictly to have to unlearn it. Mine was a little less because I just kind of trickled out of church and then was like, okay, I had some experiences growing up in church where I was made to feel very small and that maybe I wasn't good enough and maybe the choices I was making weren't the best decisions. Although hindsight, I still fully believe all the things I did were perfect. They were perfect and they were in alignment with who I was at the time. But that's exactly it. Like they say you were made in his image, right? To create. So why can't you create your own world? Why can't you create your own life?
Right.
And I think that's a lot of the law of attraction. So you make those little changes to put out into the world what you want to bring back in. Well, guess what I want? I want love. I want joy. I want peace. I want laughter. I want ease and flow in my days. I don't want to work too hard. I want money to come in because it's a birthright, not because I have to work really hard to get it. I want just to enjoy this amazing life that we were given. And again, I know that there's a lot of hard things happening in the world, and not to say that I'm totally oblivious to it, but I did change my focus from being outward to being inward, and that made a huge difference. I work for a nonprofit. I do really good things to help make the world a better place. I just do as much as I can, and then I focus on that inner world.
Yeah. And I was going to point out that I think it helps us because this world feels so big and scary right now with a lot of the events that are going on. Sometimes it does help to bring it in and focus on you and what you can do for yourself and those that you touch directly, because you don't know how far that reach is going to go. For example, last night I watched the documentary Butterfly in the Sky about reading Rainbow. And the minute they put on LeVar Burton, I was like, oh my God, I love him. I didn't even know he was like, right. As soon as those like little notes came on, I was like instantly happy.
Yeah.
And these people, they just were out there living their purpose. And that's what the documentary was about, is they were like, we were just creating this little show. And now we have a whole generation of adults that love reading because of what we did. But they were just focused on, doing what they thought was right and what they thought was best, and doing a project with love and passion.
Yeah.
And that comes through. And so I think when we focus on what's good for us, how can we best show up in the world, we don't know what that reach is going to be. I mean, even with you and I in this podcast, I mean, we were just like, let's start a podcast. Right now, it's new, it's fresh. We might not have thousands of listeners. We might someday. Yeah. But we're still out here doing it and having fun.
Yeah. It's something that spoke to us.
Yeah.
Like really big calling. It felt like that we had changed our lives so dramatically that we wanted to give other people the options to do the same. And then what does that reach do? And so if my vibration is higher and your vibration is higher, and we come together, and then together our vibration multiplies, it spreads, and it's contagious.
And I really think that's the only way we're going to change the world for the better.
Yeah.
Is we get enough people focusing on love, joy, peace. I mean, those are, if you're a Christian background, like those are the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you want those things?
Yeah.
And why don't we chase those? Spending our energy on putting the good out and calling the good in instead of judging and fighting and putting everything down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Is there anything else we need to touch on for law of attraction?
So if someone wanted to start today, if they were like, I don't know what this gobbledygook you're talking about is, what's that first step? For me, I think it was a guided meditation. Again, my brain never shuts off, if you can tell by how fast I talk.
Yeah.
Guided meditation was good, and it was just like a calming one. I did a sleep meditation actually a lot when I was going through some rough periods. I would just have a sleep guided meditation.
So I love Insight Timer. It has lots of great meditation. Emma Mumford, I'm going to talk about her again, has some subliminals I just got into. And there's a couple on like release to flow. There's some like, I don't know, alignment ones. So I've been listening to those at bedtime. We put on like our babbling creek noise, and then I play those subliminals, and they play for an hour and 11 minutes. So it's 111 is the number of time, which is an angel number, which is just significant to me. It just feels very spiritual and very good and loving. So I listen to that while I go to sleep. So your subconscious will do some work for you. You don't necessarily have to do all the things. You can let your subconscious do some of it. But I think that's a great place to start with a meditation. And people think meditation looks like sit down and be quiet. We've talked about that too. It's not necessarily sitting down and be quiet. It's just getting in touch with your breath, getting in touch with nature, being present, blocking everything else out for just a little bit. So if you do that better walking, if you do it better driving, sometimes it's scary driving because then you end up somewhere and you're like, how did I get here? But it happens. So I think that's a really good place to start.
I have the Core Ball. It's a meditation ball. It connects to my phone with an app. I like it because it vibrates based on the breath training that they're having you do or the meditation that they're having you do. And for me, it helps me get present and quiet my brain because I'm focusing on this. Oh. And I'm not just like, okay, I'm breathing and and then the thought pops in, and then the thought pops in, and then the thought pops in. And then it's just like I'm focusing on this. So for my brain type, having that tool is really helpful. And they have really short ones. They have long ones. I personally I would start with shorter ones or the subliminal ones.
Yeah. So Headspace has a Netflix series where they will teach you how to meditate. In fact, my husband is just learning how to meditate with me, and that we started with that. And now every morning he can do a 25-minute one with me. So we're still kind of quiet. We do have a particular one we like. It starts with a little Reiki. You get in touch with your breath, and then they take you to this imaginary place. And I have this beautiful piece of land that I like to go to every morning. I've just envisioned it. This is my special place. And I go there, and then you just have some time to kind of do whatever. You can doze back off if you need to. You can tap into your spirit guides if you want to. What does that look like? I don't know. Just sit and be quiet and say, hey, is anyone out there? You might hear something. You might hear something and it might surprise you.
Yeah. On that Core app that I use, they have meditations that you do as a family and then ones for you and your kids. And bonus, they're narrated by Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, nice.
I love that. So that's always fun. It's like this, the like going to sleep one. It like starts out with like this growly voice, and I'm like, oh yes, please. Okay, fine, I'll go to sleep.
I mean, why not? Why not go to sleep dreaming of that nice voice?
Yes, and so my daughter actually really likes those.
Yeah,
So
I love that. Yeah, my kids use the Insight Timer. There's some kid ones on there too. There's like some bedtime stories and just to kind of help them reset at the end of their day, kind of clear out. I think those are great places to start. Another good place is honestly us. Just reach out. This is what we're here doing. So if you'd like any guidance, or you're like, hey, this is what I got going on, where do I start? Like, we'd love to sit down and do those things with you too. Yeah. I also am doing tarot and oracle card readings. So if you're even just looking for some guidance from your higher self and you'd like a little bit more direction, we could do something like that too. And Cassie, with all your stuff, with your routines and stuff, we could incorporate some spiritual routines.
Yeah, some rituals and things like that. So reach out if you have any questions. We'd love to help guide you in any way we can or get you started on your own path. Otherwise, please like, share, follow the podcast. Again, we're just starting to get this off the ground. So we appreciate you listening and being here, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you for tuning into the Vibrant Life podcast. We hope today's episode has energized and inspired you to live your best life. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so as to never miss an episode. And please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback fuels our mission to bring you more valuable content. Remember, your journey to Vibrant Life is ongoing. Stay connected with us on social media at Vibrant Life Society for daily tips, motivation, and community support. As we wrap up today's conversation, we encourage you to embrace each moment, pursue your passions, and prioritize your well-being. Together, let's create a life that radiates with energy and purpose. Until next time, live vibrantly. See you in our next episode.